Hello everyone, my name is Names, and I'm doing something different today. Instead of recording gameplay, I'm going to be reading. You might have seen my video, Names Talks. I talked about depression and illness. This time, it's different. I'm going to be talking about, reading a story. I'm going to do this more often. I enjoy reading. I hope you enjoy this story to your audience. As I read, I found you. 4:23 a.m. I didn't imagine it. I'm not fucking insane. My vision may have been distorted as a result of my excessive alcohol consumption, but I know what I saw. I know that it was real. I've been sat in a bath full of cold water for the past hour to try and shake the feeling of being covered in blood. Her blood. 5 hours earlier. Must have been about 11 p.m. when I stumbled through my front door. Perhaps stumbled is an understatement. I quite literally collapsed from how mentally exhausted I was, and all I wanted to do was sleep. It had been exactly 6 months since Hannah went missing, and despite my efforts of distracting myself, I knew that it'd be more than several vodka shots and the burning sensation that they'd left in my throat for me to stop thinking about her. Hannah is my younger sister. She's an introverted, yet somewhat jittery 16-year-old that always looks unsettled, which is why I don't believe she ran away. No, she was kidnapped. The last person that saw Hannah on the night of her disappearance was her friend as she was leaving the party she was at, till I walked into my kitchen and saw her sitting on my floor tonight. Hannah? I sputtered as I rubbed my eyes, trying to adjust my sight in the dark room. No response. She was sat on the floor with her back against the fridge, hugging her knees to her chest. Without hesitation, I slammed my fist against the light switch to illuminate the room. Before I could run towards her, there were 3 loud bangs against the window. I looked up to see my sister, Hannah, on the other side of the glass. Although her voice was muffled, the terror-stricken expression on her face, which was covered in smudged makeup, made it clear that she was saying, in between sobs, she was telling me to get out. I switched my attention to the girl that sat on my floor, who was now sitting at me. I swiftly turned and grabbed the door handle, but the door wouldn't open. The handle wouldn't even turn. Whilst I was frankly trying to move the handle, I locked eyes with the girl in my kitchen, who was now slowly standing up. She wore the same baggy, faded pink sweater that Hannah always wore. However, it was ripped and soaked with blood, which caused the material to cling to her petite frame. I glanced over to the window, but Hannah was no longer there. Had she gone to get help? I vigorously slammed my body repeatedly into the door in a futile attempt to open it. Then she started to speak, and my whole body just froze. "I found you," she whispered emotionlessly, not moving her empty eyes from mine. "Where the fuck is my sister?" I growled. This can't be her, I thought to myself. The way that she was menacingly glaring at me, Hannah would never look at me that way. The girl standing in front of me looked inhuman and drained of life, even though she looked identical to Hannah. It couldn't be her. Without a doubt, it was my sister outside through the window, and I needed to get to her. I wasn't going to lose her again. Suddenly, the girl threw herself against me and wrapped her arms around my waist. I yelled as I thrusted my body forwards, but she squeezed me harder. Mindlessly, I kneed her in the stomach, reached for the kettle, and swung it around to her head. As she fell to the ground, the door opened behind me. It was Hannah. She clung onto my arm and cried, whilst I stood sudden in silence, staring at the unconscious girl on the floor who was now surrounded by a pool of blood. It must have been about 2 minutes that I stood there, but Hannah's chillingly cold hands, which gripped so tightly onto my arm, made it feel like I was standing there for hours. As cold as she felt, her fingertips burned my skin. Suddenly she let go and walked towards the girl. She still hadn't moved an inch. Hannah pressed her fingers to the girl's neck to feel her pulse. She waited for a few seconds and then looked up at me and shaking her head. Had I killed her? No. She was bleeding. She would have bled out anyway. I knew that I had to do something about this, but I had to sort Hannah out first. I decided that I should put her to bed, and we'd talk about everything in the morning. I didn't want to overwhelm her. So I washed her face, tucked her into my bed, and decided that I needed to have a bath and take it all in. 4:23 a.m. I was covered in the blood of that girl, and my stomach churned at the thought of her lifeless body on my kitchen floor. She couldn't have been human. Even the way she walked made her look monstrous. Hannah hadn't spoke to me while I was putting her to bed, which really worried me. All she did was stare blankly at me. Come to think of it, I swear that she didn't blink. She must have been through a lot in the past 6 months. All I need to do is concentrate on keeping her safe. I stepped out of the bath, still feeling dazed. As much as I didn't want to deal with a dead body in the kitchen, I know I had to before Hannah wakes up. I slowly crept downstairs as the floorboards creaked beneath my feet. I stood outside the kitchen door. Why was I afraid to go in? My throat felt sore, as if I had swallowed razor blades. I gulped and pushed open the door. Gone. Everything was gone, and my kitchen had returned to its immaculate state. The body, the blood, it was gone. I stepped backwards and screamed as I nearly tripped over. Hannah! I sprinted up my staircase to my room where Hannah was sleeping. I pushed open my bedroom door and collapsed on my knees. My head started spinning, and all I could see was nothing but a sea of crimson. Blood stained on my carpet where it all had been sprayed up the walls. The dead girl downstairs had been cut up, parts of her body spread all around the room, including the head, which had been decapitated. Above her sat a girl with long black hair, blacked-out eyes, and ghostly pale skin. She looked up from me with her cupped hands, which was looking like the heart of the girl, and slowly she smiled at me, her mouth dripping with blood. That was not my sister. My sister's the girl that is currently scattered around my bedroom. It was her all along. Whilst hyperventilating and paralyzed with fear, I managed to make out the words written on my wall. You chose the wrong one. Before I could catch my breath, the creature sank her teeth in the heart of my sister and croaked. I found you.